A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We warmly welcome you to Speak Station, the place where speakers are born. I'm Kalania Baby-Prima, and I will be your host for the evening. As a Gavel Club of University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, we are dedicated to improve the public speaking skills of young undergraduates. Speak Station is our own initiative where we bring you expertise experience. Before we begin, please note that today's meeting is being recorded, and I would kindly request everyone to keep muted to avoid any disturbances to the speaker. If you have any questions to be presented for our guest speaker, please use the chat feature on Zoom. Your questions will be answered if time permits. Now, I would like to invite the president of the Gavel Club of University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, Cavalier Panchini Karunaratne, to formally welcome all of you.
Good evening, everyone. The guest speaker for the day, Ms. Sharon Mascarenhas, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a true pleasure for me to welcome all of you who are presented here on the phase 1 of the Speak Station, an initiative by the Gavel Club of University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. The phase 1, Your Voice Matters, will inspire and educate participants to learn the art of public speaking by providing them the opportunity to interact with an insightful personality today. This will empower the undergraduates and school students to express their ideas to the community and become the voices of tomorrow. This is indeed a special occasion and an important moment for everyone who will embark upon a totally new journey from today onwards. Your voice do matter. Kalani, over to you.
Thank you, Cavalier Panchini. Your voice has power to heal, power to influence, and power to inspire. Public speaking is the art of finding your voice and understanding the power it carries. For our first session, Your Voice Matters, we have someone who is well known for her voice. She is an award-winning television presenter, news anchor, compeer, and a dubbing and voice artist. She has been in the industry for over 15 years. She has won the award as Best Newsreader for 2 consecutive years and Best TV Presenter at the Rupavahini State Awards and a win received at the Raigam Tele Awards in 2011. She is an experienced marketing manager with a demonstrative history of working in the IT and services industry. On top of all of that, she is a very humble and hardworking individual. Without further ado, let's welcome our guest speaker, Ms. Sharon Mascarenhas. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Kalani, and thank you to all the Cavaliers, especially to the organizers of Speak Station. Can everyone hear me? Can I see a thumbs up in the chat box? Or you can drop in a big hi on the chat box. Let's try to make this as interactive as possible, because I am a bit of a talking chat box, but here and there, you got to know where to voice, where to talk, where to engage. So I don't want everyone or myself just to keep talking nonstop. So yeah, hi to Shahan, hi to Sanjida, hi to Adila. I hope I'm getting that name correctly. So we have 230 participants who are joining us. Yay! This 230 are all excited to listen to me. So please bear with me. I hope I share some great insights, something that you can take home. I understand that not everyone, but some are actually very, very scared to talk. It's like the simple things where you want to say good morning to your sir, you want to say bye to somebody, but if you like someone, then you have this kind of jittery fear that you want to communicate, but you can't. And there are instances where you must talk, and there are instances where it's always best to zip it up and keep. So I thought I'll put up a couple of slides just to make sure that you guys learn something, take home something from me. And thank you very much to the University of Sri Jayavarthanapura for all the Gavaliers for inviting me here. Let's begin, because it's 5:06 on the clock. And here's my slide. Can you see my slide now? Yes? All right, we're good to go. So we're talking about your voice matters, and I thought I'm going to drag you through or take you through the most important area of 10 simple ways of what you need to be effective when it comes to communication, because it's not just about the way you talk, it also involves with the kind of words you use, with the tone you use, with the kind of spacing that's involved. There's like so many things that you need to concentrate. But let's go back to the basics on the first thing. Here it is. Know your audience. How many of us actually understand who our audience is? It's not just about, let's say I'm hosting a show and I'm supposed to know what this audience is about. Say for an example, okay, I'm an MC and I go for an event and I host this event for a big apparel industry. But now if it's that apparel industry, there could be the people who are the machine operators, there could be merchandisers, there could be top level locals. All these people are mixed in one audience. But when you communicate, you need to identify what audience do I talk to? Say, for example, I have had this instance where I say, ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to so-and-so. And then people on the machine operator level, when they're not too fluent in the English, when they can't really understand, they're like, okay, what do I do now? You know, you have to get into their shoes, because you need to understand the type of audiences that is there. Let's say you're communicating to a sector of teachers, then it's more respectable. You've got to bring in the tone very formal, a little serious, crack a joke or two if it's really necessary. If not, don't. It depends. So the main priority here is to identify who your audience is, what their background is. So no matter what of the circumstance, let's introduce ourselves to a senior. I mean, you're having like a university function, and then you have a senior lecturer or somebody who's walking up to you, and he's introducing himself to you. And then you'll be like, hello, sir, hi. No, that's not how we speak. We say hello. We bring in that little confidence, like hello. You don't have to say hello. Yeah. Yes, sir. You bring in that little jittery and a little nervousness. That's where people will be like, You have to talk with confidence. Now, when we say confidence, you don't have to tighten his fingers and handshake and all. Now we don't do handshake. Now we do only this. But even if you do this, it'll be like, and then you let go. It doesn't have to be like that. You have to be very gentle, polite, bring in that little essence of spiciness. Hello, sir, how are you doing? And now don't bring in that fake accent also. Then also it's a, the person who's listening on the other side can't actually understand a single thing that you're trying to say. So it's always important by identifying your audience. And if there is a problem, let's say the person on the other side is not fluent with English, swap the language a little, help him out, help her out with the communication. But if you want to learn, it's always best that you speak in English so that you can talk back. And let's say, for example, if the other person on the end is finding it a little difficult to communicate, if he said the wrong word, if the pronunciation is wrong, don't laugh at that person. You can politely correct them. If not, just ignore it. Just you speak and help them improve. That's how people can, bring that togetherness and also learn the language without just holding on to this high horse or something like that. Do you agree with me as to the fact that you have to know your audience? Yes? I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting. Yes, okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'd love to hear your feedback. So point one, know your audience. Level of education. Number two, it's always good. I know news is telling a lot of blah, blah, blah these days. There are things that you have to listen to, and there are things that you have to just omit. But in this case, the level of education is what we mean is when you go and meet these people. Say, for example, recently, I went in and always introduce yourself when you have to talk to someone. Hi, I'm so and so. Nice to meet you. Da, 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 da. And if you can see this gentleman wearing a nice tie, be careful. It can be a very senior person or something like that. You can just crack a joke. So what I did was recently, this gentleman was wearing a Sri Lanka cricket tie. And I told him, he was like, oh, excellent presentation on the way you conducted it. And I told him back saying, sir, you're wearing a fantastic tie, which is very proud to be Sri Lankan. And then he looks at it and he's like, ha, ha, ha. It's like, you know, he forgot for a second what he was wearing, but he had to have a second peek. And then he was like, well, I was very proud to wear it back in the day. Things are a little different now. And then, you know, you can just crack a little things and, you know, bring in that little engage of a conversation. So wherever you go, it's always best you do a little research in wherever it is. Let's say if it's like an award ceremony, and if that award ceremony is something to do with whatever the industry, agriculture, let's say, it's always good to check a little statistics. How did the agriculture industry do last year and how did they? Not that you're going to use all these facts. When you meet people, you can say, I'm sorry, I'm going to speak in Sinhala here a little bit. You know, you can bring in that little element in English and you can talk to the person. So confidence is key. Know your audience is important and the level of education is important. Now, the next one is emotional receptivity. Being emotional is a little difficult. Now, I would say different people have different moods. Different people have different ways of communicating. Some of them are very sarai, you know, they're like, hello, like that. Some of them are very, very polite. They'll be like, hello, can you hear me? I'll be like, what? You know, it's something like that. So when you are communicating based on wherever you are, let's say for a supermarket, you and the cashier at the counter did a small mistake. If you have to correct yourself or correct that person, you can very politely ask them, is this correct? Did I do the right thing? Your tone is what's important here. You got to understand and also work on the balance of it in trying to get your answer. When you go to bring in a little rush, a little anger, a little sour bitterness, then it doesn't work. There are instances in the industry where I work in the marketing field, when you work with different genders, different audiences, it's quite different. When you speak to a CEO, it's in another level. When you speak to a manager, it's in another level. When you speak to juniors, it's another level. So you have to get into their shoes to talk. And then that whole importance comes in. Cultural background is where a lot of people, I hate the fact that people laugh when people pronounce words wrong. I hate the fact that people, you know, oh my God, that one said this word. Oh my God. Don't do that. You always want to help someone and help someone improve. So no matter whether they're Sinhala, Tamil, Buddhist, Muslim, whatever the religious, it doesn't matter. It's your humanity, who you are, and you support it. I'm very proud about the Jaffna English that they use. Their English is very polished, but it can be somewhat different to how the Sinhala speaking community in Gaul. There can be different fluctuations. There can be different waves of lengths of understanding. Remember, when you are communicating to a person, you have to be this human being to understand what that person on the other side is going through. So how will you support that conversation? That's why I said, if you find this person is talking in Sinhala, like he needs a little support, you can speak back. Then that person will support you. And let's say now you're talking to someone who really doesn't understand Tamil at all at some instances. Then you can very politely ask him, can you speak Tamil? I'm speaking English. There is sign languages. There is all kinds of ways that you can communicate and share. And all these things get ugly when we don't sort of accept what the other person is going through. So These are some of the major highlights that I want to share in terms of identifying who you are and your psychological needs. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be, nobody wants to be sad. No, you have different moods of cycle, but let's say in wherever you are, you can't show your true emotions to the entire world. Of course, there's a little part where you might want to show your little self, and that's perfectly all right. But according to a little wavelength that you can draw, always draw a margin on what you put out there, whether it's social media, whether it's on real-term marketing, wherever it is, you got to strike a balance in how you are doing, because everybody has this psychological mood that they go through in their day-to-day life. Something happens, something good happens, something great happens, be grateful for it, say thank you, say hi, say bye. I mean, how many of you actually say good morning to your parents? Can I see a raise of hands? Hardly we do, right? What's there to eat? What's there to this thing? What's coming up next? These the kind of things that we okay, I see a lot of people are raising hands for good morning. Wow, I'm impressed. Do y'all do eyeball or do y'all seriously say good morning? Okay, but whatever it is, it's always best to, you know, communicate to the people, especially people in your family or your friends, have that kind of bond and friendship no matter where you go. Do you agree with me? Is there any contradictory answers that you like to give me that no, I disagree with you or something like that? If not, it's going okay. All right, great. I'm going to move on to the next slide. And this is another area that I really, really like. Let's say, for example, when you are talking to someone, what's your story? Remember the 5 W's: what, when, where, who, why. These 5 W's, if you can take it with you wherever you go, you can really, really mold yourself to a different level. So when, let's say we meet people, right? And then when we talk to them, you got to tell your story and you got to listen to their story. And when you tell your story, you got to paint it in words. Don't go to say it in big, harangue, you know, boasting, showing off. No, don't do that. Just a limit. I'm so-and-so. I've been so-and-so in the industry. This is how humble I am. This is how it is. You don't need to praiseworthy and all of that. It doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, it's always important as to what you take home, how you make someone happy, how you brighten someone else's day. That's what's important. So whenever you meet someone, when you greet someone, compliment that person. Oh, nice pants. Oh, nice that, nice this. Don't just say things like, podda mahathilani. You know, things like that can bring you down, can bring the negativity down. So whenever you tell a story, remember these 3: paint words and pictures and just put it out there in a nice way. Express the emotion. Sometimes people have told me I'm very straightforward, the fact that I'm very blunt in whatever I have to say. But then just imagine if I had to hide the information, and if I don't share the absolute truth, then things will not be nice, right? I'm just lying to that person. So it's always best, if there's something that you want to say it in a nicer way and try as much as possible to make that person feel comfortable or happy. My next point is to keep it simple. Whatever the conversation, sometimes people start talking non-stop and it goes all the time, long conversations. Always, whenever you talk, keep it short, keep it to the question, answer the question and stop. Now, having said that, it doesn't mean that, let's say, did you have coffee? And then, yes, no, see, things like that. You said, yes, I had my coffee and I had a very delicious coffee with too much of sugar in it. That's how you bring in that little element of adding a little spice into the conversation, but also at the same time, you keep it short. Now, this is one big area that I've come across with a lot of people who are struggling whenever they communicate, their hands in their pockets or hands over here, or real macho level of behavior, and then the kind of attitude that you portray whenever you stand, whenever you talk is important. Let's say you can't be hunched like this, you can't be back like that. The way you talk brings in this little diaphragm of breath actually automatically works very well, where you can talk in a very pleasant way. When you stay hunched, people will see you like a very, fine person. You don't want that, right? So try as much as possible to show yourself with the way you carry yourself. Whenever you dress something, the way you appear, your attitude has to be very pleasant so that people will be like, wow, what is this? You can be attractive to a girlfriend, boyfriend, that can be a different level. But my point is when it comes to communication. So here are a few areas where a lot of people have a defensive way of standing, showing that they don't like this kind of close attitude of way of projecting themselves. These are the little things that people can change in order to show your appearances when it comes to communication, because that is key as well. Now, talking about the 5 W's of what, when, where, who, why, it's important that you identify who you really are. Who you are, what do you want to be, what kind of person do you want to portray, and make sure that there is a person on the other side who should respect you for who you are. So for instance, let's say there are chances where there can be people who like the whole funky groove lifestyle. And there could be someone who is absolutely graceful. And there could be someone with the, yo, what's up kind of language person. So you are associating all these type of people, but there is that little, ooh, why I don't want that person to associate me. You don't have to really show that. You can accept the person, how that person is, and also appreciate for who or he, for whatever they are. You don't have to show how much of hate or dislike or something like that that you have in your heart. So here's a motto that I really, really respect is this point of word respect. For example, there are people, the garbage man, there are people who are the tea pluckers. There are different peoples of industry where a lot of people disregard them. They don't show respect to them. They don't say thank you to them. They don't, it's like, oh my God, they're smelly. They shouldn't come near me. It shouldn't be the case. You should always respect them and treat them equally, like the way we treat people. We don't have to be exquisite to the people in the managerial level. We don't have to come down to, oh, the garbage person is not my level. We don't have to treat people like that. I think it's always best to treat people equally. So what do you do in terms of communication? You listen to what they say. If the Kunukarya doesn't talk to you, you can say hello, good morning to that person. How was your day? And you can ask them, put a chat with them. There's nothing wrong in asking how they are doing. And now when you put a chat with them, after that, don't just, okay, bye. Don't just, slam out and move out. Don't do that. Just be nice to them and treat them politely. Now, when you communicate, an area that you want to improve is by looking at the mirror. If you are hoping to be a speaker, if you want to be a communicator, use a pen, simple pen, pen, and then hold it in front of the microphone and talk to that person. If you want to say hello, hi, you want to meet a girl, you want to meet a boy, hi, how are you doing? Oh my God, once upon a time, there was this guy who was really interested in me, and he was so scared to talk to me that he had tears in his eyes and he was like shivering. And I got scared thinking, now he's coming in for something else. What a guy. That was it. That's what I thought. And then when he came close saying, oh, Sharon, I really like you, I got more scared, and I was thinking, okay, this is weird. Why is he shivering? Why is he tearing? Oh my God. You get so overwhelmed. So even if it's to meet a girl, to meet someone, always use the mirror technique. It really, really helps because you can see how you smile, how you talk, how you walk, all of that. The mirror actually helps you. And you can identify yourself as to who you really are as a person. Your mirror should be like your best friend to tell you where. Now, thank God I have a critic, and that's my mother. She tells me when I read the news saying you always put this duck's back smile whenever you finish an item, let's say a pleasant item. I do this. It's like so fake. And then if there is someone to criticize that, take that criticism in a very positive way, because that's where you can really improve as to who you are. Respect the people and also create a rapport in the type of communication that you have. Let's say you talk to one person A, you communicate with the person B. Don't just walk out. You just have a little communication and then excuse yourself and leave. I'm sorry, I have to go speak to someone else. Make it simple, make it clear. And whenever you communicate, if you can't understand something, you can always say, please explain it to me. Or the fact that your explanation has to be absolutely clear. Let's say you're hosting an event. Now, if you are hosting an event in that sense, you start with a superb opening, brilliant opening, because that's the most important thing when it comes to an event, because that's where people start judging you as to how this person is, their mood is, what kind of energy, what kind of vibrant activity that they're going to do. So do your little research, and then you can come and start with the way you want. Some of them use quotes, some of them use motivational thoughts, some of them actually goes and, like me, engage. Good evening, how are you doing? How's your Sunday evening going, and how's everyone doing? That's the kind of you got to pick out the interest in how you want to explain to someone a situation or what the event is all about. Next point is build yourself. Now, whenever you work on a particular field, it's always good to have a career pathway, not just be stuck in where you are. Because a lot of people have ambitions, we have career goals, we all want to do that. But when it comes to the finances, we just stick to one place. Always make sure when it comes to building your capacity, have a one-year plan and see what you got to do. There can be ups and downs, there can be depression, there can be sadness, there can be emotions. All of this is something that you got to fight in. You got to suck it up and you got to move on. And that's what this life is all about. That's what challenges are all about. And that's what obstacles really pushes you through. You got to talk to your best friend if you really want to. You got to have your parents in whole. Also have 3 or 5 people as your close circle, because they're the ones who will be with you right throughout. And don't ever be shy to open up and talk to someone, because that's the most important thing, where you build in your confidence and you increase yourself. Now, connect yourself. Connect to people. Whenever you talk, always make sure you say hello, hi, and connect to someone wherever it is. Don't just ignore and start saying, oh my God, I can't, they are big level and I am small. No, it's not the case. You really need to connect to different levels of people. There is a fantastic network called social media, which can be misused as well. But it's always great when you connect with people where you can learn, where you can share, you can also see how much you can grow as well. And whatever you're learning, you can relate yourself to the areas that you are going to do. That's a lot of talk. Am I boring so far? No? I'm trying to find the chat box. Here we are. No. Okay, I see a lot of no's. Okay, thank God. You know, I was really worried whether I'll be boring today, but it's good. It's good. Yay! Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to go on to the next one. Sorry if I'm screaming like a freak at times. Okay, our next slide speaks about, hold on. Next slide is coming. Okay, the way you communicate, right? It's important when it comes to your delivery. Let's say you're watching a cricket match, right? And when you're watching a cricket match, you just don't watch like this and say, oh, he hit a 6, no? Okay. You don't do that. You're watching a match. You're cheering for some team and you're all set to kicking someone and then, that's the kind of, sorry, if I was loud. You know, your delivery is important with the way you do. When you call someone, you don't say, hello. You don't say like that. You're like, hello. You don't say like that also. You've got to bring in that little projection on what you want to say. So it's always best whenever you call someone, why you're calling. But I have this problem now with, I think, age, where you call and be like, you know, after a second, hold on, I can't remember what I called for. I'll call you back later. This happens to me now, but I hope it doesn't happen to you guys. But what I mean to say is whenever you are communicating on whatever the platform, projection is important. Varying your tone to different angles, to different volumes in communication is important. Delivering the message. There are instances, let's say if I'm reading a news item, things like COVID-19 related deaths, the numbers are very important so that the listener hears saying, oh my God, so many deaths happened here today. And then the next problem will be like, where? Okay. So things like that, you need to project yourself and bring in that voice variation. Articulate your words. Don't talk like Pitukala inside or Pankala inside. Don't talk like that. Swallow your spit, clear out, drink some water. avoid, I always have a habit of drinking hot stuff. I avoid ice water if you want to be a speaker or a coach, that is. But always when it comes to communication, be clear with what you have to say and your pitch. I have this problem where, let's say, when things don't go right, emotionally it breaks me down, and then my pitch, whenever I talk, it gets very jittery, it gets very emotional and very downward, and like, so when people talk to me, are you crying, is something that people ask me, and then I'm like, no, there is a problem that is going on in me, and that's why you can emotionally hear my emotions. So it's all right to express it, but at the same time, your pitch is what I'm trying to say, because you need to bring that vocal variation when you talk. So when you speak to a lecturer, you can say, hello, sir, good morning. It's moderate. And then when you are screaming at a match, go Sri Lanka. And then when you are at a funeral or any other kind of low-paced emotional area, you can talk to that person, not softly, but in a nice way, projecting. And whatever you do, you can rate yourself. You can rate yourself. I hope most of you have a smartphone, where if you do have a smartphone, just switch on the video camera, record yourself, and see how much or how your vocal is. See how clear it is. See whether you're comfortable with it. See whether it brings confidence to another person. See whether it's pleasant, whether it's polite, whether it makes someone happy or someone listening engaging. This is something that's really, really, really important, that you really have to focus when it comes to your delivery in communication. Now, when we come to the last bits of stuff, just a few things that I really, really love in terms of quotes, etc. Be sincere. That's very direct that I have to say. Whenever you are talking, I mean, we have anger, right? Every one of us have anger. And then when you do have that anger, it's always best to be silent, respond later, reply that message later, because angry can be like, and then it can be bashing, it can be fights, it can be your pitch going up and down and all of that. But when you are sincere, you can think twice, take a deep breath, breathe down, and then start whatever you have to do. And there are things in public speaking that you have to first get into your subject. If there is someone talking about hydropower, etc., it won't be right when you talk of Sri Lanka cricket at that moment. So it's always best that you communicate with that subject. And let's say now I don't know anything about hydropower, then what do I do? You can ask that person, I'm sorry, I'm a little clueless about that subject. Can you enlighten me, please? Let's say regarding this whole Express Pearl ship, oh my God, so many positives, negatives, look at what they have done to our ocean. Whenever you have to communicate a particular message, especially on social media, it's always best to check the accuracy. Yes, your voice has to be heard. It has to be shown in a particular way that it doesn't hurt another person. If you want to fight for the industry, yes, you can definitely. But what's sad is when something happens, people just go share, without checking the evidence or the contents. I myself, I avoid from politics because they're the leaders that's there. If they want to speak about it, let them speak about it. But at the same time, if there is something that you feel that's unfair that's happening to you, you can definitely voice your opinion out there in public. But be sure that it doesn't hurt another person whenever you communicate. So getting to the subject, get your subject into yourself. Now, whenever you are talking to someone, let's say kind of things can happen. So you need to be absolutely careful and make sure that you are in that subject whenever you communicate. If not, it doesn't work. Lastly, get your subject into the heart of the audience. I love the fact that while I was talking about the apparel industry awards that I was hosting, so I told those people, the mission operators, ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to blah, blah, blah. And I can see only the front row CEOs are applauding. 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 What a way to have a communication platform. And then I'm getting my words twisted. They were applauding. And then you can see the audience at the back are completely lost. And I'm wondering what's going on. And then you feel so, it's like you don't want them in the event. It's important that you get all of these areas of target audience engaged in an event. That's how much we went out there to the people. And then that's like, whistle, all of that, all of this comes. So it's the way you deliver, it's the way you identify, and it might take a while for you to identify the type of audience that you get, because sometimes when people brief you, this is the type of people that are coming. Sometimes they can be wrong, and you need to identify yourself the type of people that you're meeting. So whenever you communicate, make sure that you leave a fantastic expression in the heart of the audience so that people remember you for who you are. I think I'm coming to the last final bits of today's, okay, hold on. Next slide. Okay, avoid distracting visuals and verbal and vocals. Okay, so let's say, for example, sometimes when you're talking to someone and then there's a hot chick coming from the side, and then you get a little distracted, and then your eyes are only there, but there's somebody talking over here, and then you're like, you can't have the distraction when it comes to communication. You've got to always visualize and bring out the essence of speaking to that person and then moving on. So remember, confidence is key. Keeping it short is key. Stick to the subject, stick to the point, vocal variation, be nice, be fun, be energetic, and then bring in that little essence so that people will, wow, I want to talk to you more. That sort of thing is what you have to bring in. Right, I'm going to move on to the next slide. This is one of my favorite slides, I would say. Make eye contact. Okay, I'm absolutely short, okay? And whenever I have to interview someone, I look up like this at most times. And then sometimes I'm like, holding the mic like that. It's a little difficult, it's a little uncomfortable, but it's important that you talk to the eyes of the person. Eyes are something that communicates in a different level. These eyes will show you what sadness is, what happiness is, what stern, what anger, what pleasure, what kind of emotion a person goes through. And when you make contact with your eyes, it's got to be pleasant and simple. And also make sure, don't do this. Hello, hi, how are you? Oh, it's hurting also. you need to avoid yourself in doing that, but it's also important that you talk to the person's eye, not looking at their lips, not looking at their tie, not looking at their chest, not looking down like that, but to the eyes of the person. And don't go to look at them like, oh my God, I'm going to kill you, like a serial killer or something like that. You've got to be extremely polite and calm in your eyes when it comes to communication. And the last one, practice makes perfect. Whenever you try to communicate, this is a lot to do with people in spoken, in presentations, in a lot of homework. You need to practice. Without practicing, it doesn't work. For my news script, I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of my news script. When I read the news, the first copy, I read it. I read and I understand the story. What is the subject about? Point 2, I read it again and I mark where should I stop. Point 3, my delivery. Which vocal tone should I up and down, increase, reduce? So ideally, you're supposed to read a news copy 3 times. Now that's news, but let's say you're handling a presentation, and if it's something like that, it's always best to practice in front of a mirror or practice somewhere where you can see your own delivery, or switch on the camera, microphone, record yourself and see how the presentation is. And whenever you talk, try to avoid doing try to avoid the accent, the pausings whenever you talk. And also, I have this problem. I have a problem of talking soon, like pat. And there is a problem where the person on the other side might actually never understand a single thing that I said. And then you'll be like, sorry, did you understand me? Was I clear with what I say? So always, whenever you talk, bring in that confidence, bring in the politeness, bring in the soothing sound where people will understand, and you've got to do your homework in order for you to talk. If not, it won't work out right. And I think, here we go. This is a summary of what I've basically been talking about so long. And that is, number 1, be sincere. Be always nice to your audience whenever you're communicating to them. There is a good side and bad side of every person. There is a side where different people have different emotions. They have happy, sad, anger, all of this. But as a human, we can change our weaknesses. We can see what our SWOT is like, and then you can improve on those areas. Now, terribly, I am very bad in my math. And if I have to work on it, I of course go and give it to my mother saying, can you check? That's how it is. It's not a solution, but I'm just kidding. But the point is the fact that if there is a weakness that you see in yourself that you really need to improve, and that's where you really need to work on. So let's say your vocal can be squeaky. Hi, how are you? If you really, really need to improve yourself on that, try to work on the vocal, go for vocal classes, go for a singing class, go for theater, get into acting. These areas really help you build your confidence, really bring out the natural fear that you can get out. Also, when it comes to reading of books, reading the newspapers can have a big difference when it comes to improving your vocabulary, and also reading out loud. Don't just read it for the sake of reading. Read the pauses, read the punctuations. So when it's a presentation, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, how are you? Thank you very much. That's the kind of flow I believe that you should do. Not good evening, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? And it doesn't work like that. And always try to avoid notes. Try to take the points to your head and then talk like that without just being script bound in the kind of area that you're trying to work in. So know your audience. Try to find whether it's Amma, Papa, Tata, whoever, whatever it is, the kind of audience that you want to reach out to. Tell them a nice story. Don't tell a long harangue paragraph where people will be like, what is this? Then also build a rapport with that person. Don't just let them down in one place. Just keep on continuing. Listen to what they have to say. Listen to what they are sharing with us, and then vary your delivery, bringing a variation with the type you talk, and keep it simple, because that's what's important, and be prepared. Well, that's a summary of all the areas in terms of communication. I brought just a summary for today. These are the kind of moods that we all go through, and you can choose which one you want to be, and you can work on that area. You can't be every day holding on to disgust or sadness or fear. You've got to work your way to see how happiness can come into your life, and you can see how much you can improve yourself in any of these areas. So I'm Sharon Mascarenhas, and it's been a real pleasure being with you here today. Now, should I sign off or should I stay for questions? Anyway, Gavel Cup, thank you, Gavaliers, for having me, and I'm happy to take any questions with the team. Hold on.
Thank you
Hold
very
on.
much.
Was I boring? Is there anywhere that I need to improve? I'll be happy to take that in the chat box now.
No, it was a wonderful session. So thank you very much. And I believe we have gained a lot of insight on how to tackle the fear of public speaking and how we can be a better person as a speaker. And if the audience has any questions for a guest speaker, please feel free to mention them in the chat box, and they will be presented to Ms. Sharon shortly.
Okay.
I have a little question. Can I ask?
You have a question, but I want to give a shout out to all these people who are saying nice things about me. It's so cool. You're the best person to do this webinar. You proved it's wonderful. It's wow. It was amazing. Did you all fix this or anything? No. Can you show us a new script? Oh, I wish it's just that it's like filed up somewhere. Maybe you can follow me on Instagram, and I kind of put it up all the time because there's a lot of broken English there, and you know. Yeah. Sorry, what's the question?
We always see you as a bubbly, smiling character. Were you always like this, or was there a point in life where you were anxious and shy like the most of us feel in front of a crowd?
Yes. When my dad passed away, I had a dinner dance to host. I think those who were following me on Instagram would obviously know the story. I had to do the event the very next day, or I'm not sure whether it was 2 days after. See, when the person you love most dies, it takes about 2 days for you to kind of hit your head and feel that emotion loss of a person. And then you have the stage that goes with that loss, and you want to do an event where it's a dinner dance and everyone is like, hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to party? And I'm here dying inside thinking I lost my dad. but it was a really difficult stage in my life where I felt it was really, really uncomfortable because I had tears in my eyes. But you can't show it to the audience. You can't show the kind of emotion that you're going through to your audience. So I was holding it back, and I was thinking to myself, no, I have never made my father see me as a weak person in the public. So I need to show myself as to how strong I am. Hiding my emotions, whatever I was going through, of course, the organizers knew about it, but it was hard, and we did it. And then actually, they were looking for another alternative MC at that time because they knew that I was emotionally down. And after the event was over, the organizer came up to me and they were like, we never expected, knowing your emotion that we're going through, that nobody will ever guess that you had a problem that you were going through. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I did it for you guys. And of course, people go through this, and you really need to step up and not show your emotion to the world. Yeah. So it's not always happy. There are moods where you have to be on TV. Okay.
I have another question that someone dropped me.
Yeah.
When you're making a humorous speech, like if we want to make people laugh, how can we do that in a way which the other people won't laugh at us, like at our faults?
Oh, it's very hard to get people to laugh. Do you know it's very hard to get people to clap? Oh my God. It's like, you know, sometimes, let's say award ceremonies, right? You're here to cheer for your friends, your colleagues. And here I have to keep on repeating and saying, come on, put your hands together, give a round of applause to so-and-so. It's very hard to find a team that would stand up and cheer for their friends, cheer for their person, etc. That's like very, very rare. So to answer your question, humor, you need to be very, very careful with the type of audiences that you're sharing your humor. Once there was this wedding that I was emceeing, and I brought in a Tamil joke because it was a Tamil audience. And then the crowd was a bit lost, like, you know, and then I was like, shoot. And then I ran back and I was like, did I say anything wrong? Yes, you pronounced one word wrong. It sounded like filth. I was like, shit, you know, like you want to, strangle it out. But, you know, to be absolutely true, you need to rehearse your jokes and see if it's a dry joke, you need to know how to change it into an extremely funny system, or you really need to be careful in making someone laugh. But always try to bring in something that will brighten up another person. That would really help. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And next we have, is overexpression a problem? Because I have a problem of moving my hands a lot when talking. And how do I become more blunt? Because I tend to beat around the bush.
You're like me. You're like me. So I have this problem too, where I use my fingers all the time. And then sometimes people see this as you're not confident, you know, when you use your fingers. So when you are practicing, try to hold on to something and keep your hands tied, you know, because I have this problem even when I'm holding the microphone. I go like Chanda Pratipala Minna never touch Chanda Pratipala, you know, and I keep telling people saying, don't hold hand gestures, like you have to use it only when it's important, but you don't have to like constantly keep on using this. You have to keep on using like this. It really is not nice. So always be careful. Your hand gestures has to be used based on the audience. If it's political debate, yes, you have to argue yourself. But if it's a very natural, sympathetic thing, try as much as possible to avoid hand gestures. And yeah, if it's a funny thing, do that if you really want to. Yeah. Why am I holding this still? Yeah, go ahead. Shoot. What's the next question?
How do you avoid grammar mistakes when speaking?
Oh my God, you can't. You can apologize yourself for saying the wrong word, or you can slowly tide it or cover it up like a joke. There was once when we hosted an event, and then we missed a particular person's speech, and then we moved on to the next one. And now, you know, it's an order, right? And if you slip one thing, the PPT goes for a 6 and everyone is like, and you know, backstage, all these screens and all of this happen. And you know what my colleague and I did? So we point at each other. When it's like a team, you point at each other, and then I'm like, hold on. Small mistake. We need to correct this. This is what is coming up next. The other one is coming up after. So you really need to know how to balance and juggle yourself if there is a problem that is at stake. And if you do a mistake, just say sorry and move it off. But the way you say sorry, the tone is important. Yeah.
And the next one is, what is your best advice for a stand-up comedian?
Stand-up comedian involves a lot of research. I'm sorry, I'm not a comedian, so I wouldn't know much of it, but I would always say research, and also the delivery, the type of delivery is important. People always have this, I would say it's a joke, we understand it, but it's also to the level of audience that you're giving that joke that people will get that joke. So it's important that you identify who your audience and your delivery in giving that joke. So that would be my main tip, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah.
The next one is, any tips for a virtual delivery?
Virtual delivery is actually, if you're doing this at home, if you're doing things at home, because there are two sides. Now there are doing virtual delivery in a big studio and in a different setup. Honestly, I hate it. Home setup is fine. It's very relaxed. And also you have your little notes on the side where you can prepare yourself. Your entire agenda has to be over here. You need to understand, because you have to know how to move into the next sequence, because there are chances that the previous speaker can get stuck. Then if they get stuck, what do you do as a backup? There's your backup plan A, there's your backup plan B. Always keep or be ready, because when it comes to virtual events, it's very, very hard. But let's say if you're doing it like a studio production, then of course it takes time. Then you have more preparation, you have recording time, but it takes ages. It's very tiring, I would say, but when it comes to virtual, always take the agenda to your head, keep a natural flow in the way you deliver, and also keep it simple. Engage with the crowd, like the way I am with you guys. Yeah.
Someone said that they keep forgetting the things they have to talk next, and how can they improve it?
Okay, points, your notes, you have to write it down and keep either in your palm or either in your, you have to have a small piece of paper with your bullet points, because it's important where whenever you go, you talk to yourself. Let's say, for example, let's say we're doing a 100th anniversary project of a particular company. Now, if you're speaking of 100 years, there are important numbers like how many staff you started, how many staff has come in now, how many districts, how many branches. These kind of numbers are very important when you give an introduction. Now, to remember all of that, you don't memorize it. If you're memorizing, you have to rehearse about 1,000 times, because when you get on stage, sometimes you forget whatever you have to say. So I'm not a person who favors rehearsing, but try to take those points to your hand where you can naturally look at it and say, we've had 100 here, we've got 10 there. You have a way system where you can hide your microphone and also bring in the points. So that brings a more natural flow. Or you can avoid these numbers and say, we've brought in so many, like a bigger picture in the type of words that you deliver, so that it covers up with whatever the message that you want to give.
And 15 years sounds like a lot of memories. Do you have any fond memory, like any standing out memory which you can share with us?
So when you're in the event industry, there's like so many that you can't forget. I think if you've seen some of the talk shows, I've shared this, but one of the recent things that I shared and I thought was extremely funny was the particular news script that I read, let's say Gaul and Gala, in the Sri Lankan news script, you're supposed to read the singular term, but there is the possibility that there is an English term. So if it's the English news, then you use the English term for it. And if it's a singular news, then you read the singular term for it. But there are instances, words like Badulla, which is Badulla itself. There is no singular break there. There is no Tamil break there. There is nothing like that. So you really, really need to be careful. So this particular word that I read, it was broken. The words were broken. It was Ata Uda Senuviratna. I read it as Ata Uda Senuviratna. So that's how bad it was. And that's where I got my first suspension in news. That was straight out of school. And I was really not when you start here, I was not bothered at all whether to get into the newsroom or anything like that. It was just being on TV kind of expression. But then after that, it was like all of a sudden you're like thinking, no, you can't make a mistake. You really need to give out the best or the correct name. That's bad. Now, no telling that joke to anyone, okay? Yeah. Plenty like that.
You have been both a news anchor and a host. Obviously, the composure and delivery styles are completely different. Which is more challenging, being a news anchor or being a presenter?
I think it's both actually. So news presenting is more straightforward, where you read the script, where you can check the previous news bulletin on the places that was there. You can check BBC, CNN, and get yourself updated when it comes to world news. But when it's a live event, there is a lot of background homework that you got to do, research on the audience, research on the company, research on the type of people that's coming, the mood that person is, and your task is to make sure that they don't touch the phone during the event. So if you are to do that, it's very difficult because a lot of people, one song is enough. Tagas. Let's see, let's scroll what's happening on the gossip site. Yeah, so that's that.
Another one is, do you prepare full script like from the beginning to the end when you host an event, or is it mostly like impromptu?
So I love impromptu comparing. I hate script reading, but there are clients who are very particular on words they use, because let's say if it's a telecom provider, I'm using brand names here. Dialogue will want a particular way of communicating their message, being Sri Lanka's future today, whatever. Mobitel will want something else as their taglines. So now when these clients give you these kind of areas, you're supposed to use it, because you can't go and use what a competitor would say, and that would be a clash in what you say. So when they give you a script, it's always best to recheck on what they are sort of preparing or telling you to say. And on the other side, if they are telling you freehand, go ahead, do what you want, then of course you have the chance of doing the delivery the way you want. But in most cases, I love impromptu comparing, but I go through the entire agenda and I take it to my head, because you have to know what to do if something goes wrong. Everything is on you, and you have to know to take it up.
Another question is, like, if we're in front of an audience and we suddenly get this stage fright where everything goes blank, how do we like stop that from happening?
Okay, this is where practice is important. You need to practice yourself, because you can't get in front of the stage and embarrass yourself. But even if you embarrass yourself, take a deep breath, 1, 2, 3, and start again. And the trick is, don't show that you are not prepared. Don't show that you don't have confidence. Pick it up from there and go. There are so many times that we have made mistakes at events. We have said the wrong name, we have said the wrong pronunciation, but you can correct it instantly so that that person doesn't feel awkward and, uncomfortable or unpleasant or something like that. So, yeah.
Another one, I get butterflies in my stomach. That's the same thing. Like, I get butterflies in my stomach, but how can I get rid of it?
Confidence and homework.
And
yeah.
How do you improvise? Like, if there's a change in script suddenly, how do you improvise?
There is no change in improvisation or time to check. So most of the time when I read the news, it's news just in. We haven't even read the script sometimes, and that's where I saw Udam had put the Badde Gama and Baddagana very correctly said. And if we haven't read that script, we are actually in for a 6. So we have told this editor mostly to write it in Sinhala at times so that it helps us, or break the word in such a way so that we understand that it's not Baddagama or Baddagana. But little details like that actually creates a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of mistakes. So you really, really need to do your research. And even if it's impromptu, this is where experience comes in, and you really need to know how to juggle it and move where you cover your little mistake and brush it up with something else. Yeah.
Another one is I have a relatively flat voice. How do I improve my vocal variations?
Sing. Songs, number one. Go for stage theater practices because they help you improve your vocals. Even with it Sinhala theater or English theater, it's all right. Let's say because of the lockdown now, there is no much of a chance, okay? If that's the case, start reading the books loud. Reading extremely loud, bring the vocals down, change it a bit, watch a little English movies. That's where you can really, really learn. But theater works a lot when it comes to improving your vocals because they bring in a lot of variants where you can really improve.
Thank you very much. And I believe we don't have any more questions and time is almost up.
Yes, but thank you to everyone who sent in their questions. And if you have any issues, you can obviously DM me on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll be happy to help you out. But please don't ask me for jobs because a lot of them keep asking me for jobs. Like, I understand that a lot of people love to get into the newsroom. They have this passion of joining in, and there are fantastic news channels. What you got to do is send in your CV, wait for that opportunity. Obviously, a lot of them have lost their jobs now with the past 2 years. It's been really tough in the industry, but try to get into somewhere, at least radio, at least television. It's all right. You can really improve in your communication and you can be up there. So thank you to Gavaliers for having me today. And for your question.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sharon. I'm sure that this has been a wonderful evening for all of us. On behalf of everyone present here today, I would like to convey my sincere gratitude to our guest speaker, Ms. Sharon Mascarenhas. Thank you for being here with us despite your busy schedule.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Now we have come to the end of our session. We hope today would be the foundation for your journey as a speaker. Signing off as your host for the evening, I'm Kalania Baby Kerber. Good night and stay safe.